Good evening, everybody, and how are you doing tonight? My name is Todd Scholl. I am the lead learner at the SCEA's Center for Educator Wellness and Learning, and it is my honor and pleasure to be here with you tonight and to bring you three really important members of our union. MaryRita Watson, who's the SCEA Legislative Committee Chair, Colleen O'Connell, the SCEA's Public Affairs Specialist, and Sherry East, the SCEA President. How are you all doing tonight?
Doing well.
Awesome. Thank you for being here, and we're really excited for you to outline sort of what our agenda is coming up in 2023. It's going to be a very, very important year, an important year for us to organize together, not just to feel discouraged. I know a lot of us are disappointed about some of the election outcomes, and we want to thank Lisa Ellis and her team for running a great campaign. And even though the results didn't come out the way we wanted them to, we do want to give her and her team a lot of credit and respect for running a great campaign. And we know that she is going to continue to be a voice in this state for public education. But we've got to come together now. We've got to circle the wagons and fight for public education and our profession, because you're either at the table or you're on the menu. And we can't wait for an invitation to start advocating. We've got to use our voices, come together, take collective action, because we're most powerful when we do things together. So we're going to start off tonight with our president, Sherry East, who's going to be talking about educator and staff, school staff pay and funding for our schools. So Sherry, can you talk a little bit about that?
Hi, everyone. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. And thank you, my team here with me today. We are in the middle of a huge teacher crisis, teacher shortage, teacher staffing shortage. And one of the things that we know is causing this is pay and working conditions. So we are not getting the pay that we deserve, the professional treatment that we deserve in our workplace. So we need their state legislator to figure out how to fully fund our schools and how to give everyone a professional raise for professional work. So our teachers, we would like to see in our legislative agenda, and that's kind of what we're here for. I'm sure we have a legislative agenda that we vote on, our members come up with, and that one of the, number one fights that we have every year is about money. Where's the money? Do you have enough money? Oh, we just can't afford to pay you more. We just can't afford this, that, and the other is what we hear all the time. But that's not true. We have uncovered a huge source of money that people may not realize that are out there. And I didn't realize it until a couple of years ago. And it's a word you may or may not have heard of called a tax abatement, or I'm going to kind of call it a tax credit or a tax break that they give these corporations to move here. So in South Carolina, we uncovered that we are losing millions every year and billions over this 5-year period that we've looked for. So guess what? When they say to us, and a lot of teachers say, well, they told me, where are they going to find the money? Like, show them the money and they would be glad to give it to us. Well, guess what? I just found you the money. I just found you billions of dollars that you could use for increase in teacher pay. So in the most recent rankings in South Carolina, we have found that we are one of 3 states in the nation that have actually fallen down in teacher pay due to inflation. So yes, we did see an increase, and we do appreciate that they raised the base pay for those 7 districts. It's also very misleading to say that all teachers got a $4,000 raise, because they did not. Only 7 districts in our state were paying the base minimum pay of $36,000. So, when your legislators say, oh, well, we gave everyone this raise, this $4,000, everyone didn't see this $4,000 raise that they, would like to brag about. So, follow the money, follow the facts, and that did not happen. The other people that are really hurting in our school system right now is what we commonly call our ESP group, or our education support personnel, or you may call them support staff, but you commonly know them as your cafeteria workers, your bus drivers, your clerical workers, your in-school suspension workers. They are really, really, really hurting on pay. They come in 50th in the nation on pay. I mean, these guys are working 2 and 3 extra jobs, and they love their jobs. They love helping teach your children. They love being in our schools, but we really are losing a lot of quality people, and we can't attract quality people into those jobs because we are not paying them a professional wage for professional work. So we really, really, really need our legislature to step up, fully fund our education program, and pay people what they are worth. The other thing that we would like to add on is the step increases. A lot of people don't understand how this works. 23 years is the step cap. So The state funds districts up to 23 years on their step increases. After 23 years, it's up to each local school district to come up with the money to give you that extra raise every month. And it's all over the place. I did a little research myself on it. Some districts give you a raise to year 31. Some districts can stop at 23. Some go to 25. Some go to 28. So it's really all over the place. There's really a lot of inconsistencies when we talk about that step increase. So what we are advocating for is that we do that step increase up to year 30, because that is when a teacher can retire. So why in the world we ever quit it at 23, I don't know. It's a mystery to me. So we would like to see the step increases that are fully funded out to year 30. And then we want to get back to this tax abatement situation where we lost $534 million in our public schools last year because we gave people a free pass to come here and set up shop. And this, you can find this, I thought you were scrolling it there at the Good Jobs First report. You can actually see how much money your district lost in this situation. So in Chester County, I know I've looked at that one a lot. I think they've lost 17 million in the past 4 years, about 20 million a year, I think, for them. So the figures add up. We could actually have more money here. We're not, and we know they're not going to quit doing tax credits to allow people to move here. But what we're asking for is some of that money to be given to the schools. So how about you give us 10%? How about you give us 20% of the tax abatement directly into the school? Because that's what needs to happen in order to be able to get money into the hands of our workers that are working with your children. So that's really all I have to say about the money and the pay raise. It's not always about the money, but definitely being given a professional wage for professional work is much needed. We also need to protect our retirement and our benefit packages as well, not only for our certified teachers, but for our support staff that are so important for our schools to operate. So I will stop there. If anyone has any questions about pay or they want to send any concerns my way, I'm sure we'll put that in the chat, how to get a hold of us. But please continue to watch as we go on. And I will, I think Todd is now going to have us fill out a little survey.
Yeah, so thank you so much. And for those who haven't heard it or seen it yet, Sherry was on a show called The Problem with Jon Stewart a couple weeks ago. And I just want to say what a remarkable job you did, and what an amazing honor that was for you, and how you represented our state and our association so well. So thank you for doing that. And if you haven't had a chance, I think you could probably find it online. The show's called The Problem with Jon Stewart, who used to host The Daily Show. So congrats on that. That was great.
Well, thank you. Can I just say that that's another first we were in. National people are noticing the problem in South Carolina with tax abatements. It came up on a national radar of people, how much money we were giving away to people to move to South Carolina to set up shop. It was shameful.
It is. Well, I want to take a brief break here. And so if you were watching, and would you please take this survey? Head on over to the SCEA.org/connect. That's the SCEA.org/connect. And just take that brief survey for us. We'd love to hear from you. This is our way of being able to connect with you, to hear back from you, to get the feedback we need to help guide our work. Want to say welcome to Mary Ann, who's watching tonight, Philip Ford, Barbie, Kat, several people watching, and lots of people tuning in tonight to check this out. And again, the SCEA.org/connect. If you'll head on over there, if you'd like to give us some feedback, we sure would appreciate it. Hello to Stephanie. Stephanie West is checking in. Hi, Stephanie. Thank you so much for helping to promote our work, Stephanie. I see that. I see you, and it's very much appreciated. And Corey Porter here in Horry County. Congratulations on you and Ronnie getting married. Congratulations to that. Hope that's gone well and that you enjoyed your honeymoon. And who else do we have? We have Cindy Fisk watching down in the Low Country. So welcome, Cindy. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to shift gears, and we're going to hear from MaryRita. MaryRita is our legislative committee chair, and she's going to be talking to us about the contract. So MaryRita, take it over.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me again tonight. This is really important work, and it's not just me that does this work. I had a committee of people that helped me, and a couple of them are on here. We had Bianca was there. Colleen helped us. Dreama, Stephanie West was helpful, and so was Kat Lowe. We had Valerie Jackson. So all of us members, it is a member-driven process where we first, reach out to the membership and ask them what kind of things would you like for us to include in our 2023 legislative agenda. And so we get all kinds of ideas from that, and then we whittle it down. And that committee was just instrumental in helping to take this big thing, because we all know there are a lot of things here that we would like to change, and we had to go for the things that are viable and those that are like rank up here as really, really would make life so much simpler. So I wanted to specifically, of all the things that we have on the agenda, one of the things that we and Kat Lowe, who's on here now, would agree is most needed is a new contract. This is one of mine. I keep them. They're all stapled together. Look at it. And they all look the same. They're one page, and there's very little bit on there. It's not a whole lot. And so we are looking to make some changes in the contract. Specifically, let us have a later acceptance date. May 10th is just not always doable. We don't know a lot of things on May 10th. We don't know where we're going, where we might want to do next year. We don't know what our job is in the district we're in when we sign this thing. We don't know how much money we're making. There's a lot of unknowns, and to sign a contract without knowing things seems to be irresponsible to me, but you have no choice. And so one of the things we really are looking to do is to make that acceptance date a little bit later than May 10th. Could be a month, I think is what we've talked about. Is that correct, Colleen? Like into June? I believe that's okay. That's what I thought.
Yes.
And, I know that a lot of things need to be determined by the district office. I've been on that side of the whole equation as well as an administrator, and I understand that you're trying to get your faculty and staff full so that you can make plans. But you also need to consider the people who are working in your building, and you want them there because they want to be there. And so I think that's really an important piece. Secondly, we would like to have in the contract educators understanding like what our compensation will be, which I mentioned earlier, what our benefits look like, because right now we're accepting a contract without knowing that either. And so it needs to be more clearly outlined for us, and where there are many, many things in the contract world regarding contracts that could be changed. We feel like we can't tackle all of them at once. And so these were the two that we were going to start with and then move on from there. So I don't know if Sherry or Colleen wants to add anything.
Well, I think one of the things we've seen too is that during the pandemic, teachers needed to get out of their contract for health reasons. And when they did that, the penalty was you lost your license for a year. And so we definitely want to tackle that. I mean, during a pandemic, when you had health issues that you need to take care of your family at home, you risk having a suspended license for a year. So I really think we need to tackle the fact that you should not lose your license when you've had to put your family first for medical issues. And I think that brings up another, like you said, signing it later into June, but why can't we be allowed to do a 30-day notice just like any other profession? I mean, most professions, it's a 2-week notice and you're allowed to leave. So why can't teachers give a 30-day notice and you're out, no harm, no foul, and you don't lose your teaching license for a year? It's ridiculous. We've heard a lot of back and forth between school boards and the state board, and a school board could release you, and then they don't have to turn it into the state, but then the state, there's a lag time in when you lose your license. So it's a whole lot of mess going on with that, and we want to tackle that and get that get a fix for that. I think that would be an easy win for us, is the 30-day out, and to not have your license suspended because you had to quit for an emergency purpose.
I think they need to be more equitable for educators. Our contracts are not equitable. As Kat would say, and I learned this years ago when I first started talking to her about this, it's a contract of adhesion, which means it's just beneficial to the employer and not the employee.
Right.
So we need to make sure that we need some rights in this. We're signing something that really needs to be for us as well.
I think one thing that needs to be said too here is, even if you're okay with the contract, it's important to understand other people may not be. There may be things in the contract that impact your colleagues or your friends, and it's important for us to rally around those people and for us to stick together and fight for those people, even if you're perfectly fine with the contract, which I don't know how you could be, but if you're fine with just signing it and I just don't want to be bothered with it, still, like, have some empathy and compassion for colleagues who may be struggling with elements of that contract that are difficult, like what Sherry mentioned with COVID. Like, you may not have health issues, you may not have needed to leave to take care of your family during COVID, but the person next door to you may have. So let's fight together and stop thinking about just how it impacts us. It's important.
I think we need to build those relationships locally, because we've spoken to our superintendent here, and I think Berkeley County has as well, spoken to their superintendent about rewriting the contracts, because this comes from the local. It doesn't come from, parts of it are statewide, but a lot of it is locally. And we wanted to see, if there weren't some things that we could add or take away. And speaking with our superintendent, he was very open to that. So having those conversations at the local level is really important.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Sherry. Sorry.
Well, I think we spoke to the Greenville superintendent, and he's like, just what MaryRita said, all of these things can be happen locally. So when we build those strong locals and have the relationships with our local superintendents and school boards, he said before the teacher crisis, they would let people out of their contract till July 15th. No harm, no foul. You want to leave Greenville? See you later. But now they've had to back it up. I think they have an in-house date until June. So that May date that we're given by the state is very flexible within the district. So the district has some flexibility there, and they'd like to blame the state. But then when it comes down to it, they do have the power to release you from your contract without suspending your license, but they don't want to do it. So those, again, local decisions that we can have an impact on.
Absolutely.
And not just teacher contracts. ESP sign contracts too. And so we need to look at those as well. I know our teaching assistants sign some crazy thing that's just not in their favor. And they don't really understand some of it either. I don't know that I would. It doesn't often make sense. So I think, again, in building that relationship with the district office and with the superintendent, we can review these things and make some changes that are positive for not just the teachers, but for everybody in the school system.
Thank you so much. And if you are watching and you're committed to taking action, you can see the link below. You can connect with us and commit to action at the scea.org/commit. So go to the scea.org/commit, and there you can commit to taking action and staying informed on the issues that impact all of us. I'm going to transition on over to Colleen, who's going to be talking about unencumbered time, which we have some good news to share on that. And she's going to be talking about what we're going to be fighting for in this session coming up.
Hey, y'all. I'm Colleen O'Connell. So I am the public affairs specialist. Essentially, I am an educator who now has the privilege and honor of working with fellow union members and educators and school staff to make the change our students deserve and that we deserve. So the unencumbered time issue, the first thing to understand is that there are two types of unencumbered time. There is the duty-free lunch or a duty-free break, so time during which you are taking a break. And then there is also unencumbered planning time, which is time provided to you where you have no other duties, where you can prepare for your very complex job. So last legislative session, for the first time in 3 decades, the SCEA helped secure a duty-free, 30-minute duty-free break that will be implemented in the year 2023. So has to be implemented by the 2023 school year at the latest. We do know some districts are already implementing this. And part of the reason that we advocated so heavily for this is that when you look at our surrounding and competing states, the surrounding and competing states, and I'm going to drop this in to our Facebook chat, surrounding and competing states, they have either both or at least one of these unencumbered duty-free times during their day, and states that pull from our teaching pool. So last legislative session, we were able to get in that 30 minutes duty-free break, and it is a break. It's actually in the legislative code where a lunch break was supposed to have been written in many decades ago. And it will apply to grades K through 5 and special education teachers who have students for at least 1/5 or 20% of the instructional day. We're working with the Department of Education to advise on how to implement this time, and we are ready and willing to work with our locals to help make sure it's implemented appropriately and to make sure you have a say in how it's implemented. Going forward in this legislative session, we want to push for what we originally advocated for, which is for every single teacher in South Carolina and school staff person to have a 30-minute break. I think one of the things people outside of education don't realize is that many people that work in our schools, unless they have admin that have been able to work it in, or they have districts that have prioritized it, they don't have any break at all during their workday. And it is an intense workday to work in schools when you have 30 little people that are depending on you, 30 people that you're trying to help. Often our educators are eating lunch with their students. For elementary teachers, that often means that they're spending their lunch opening milks, opening ketchup packets for people, and they're not getting a break. In addition to wanting to expand that so that every teacher has that state guaranteed right to a 30-minute break during their instructional day, not added on before or after, we also want to get unencumbered planning time guaranteed for every educator and any staff person that requires planning to do their work in South Carolina. So that would be time not where you're being sent to meetings, not where you're being forced to fill out some form, but time where you are working to plan for the complex work of contemporary instruction. We know that our schools are modern. They're in a global society. It takes a lot of work to plan lessons that are responsive to each and every one of your students. It takes time and it takes expertise to take that assessment data that you are working on, collecting and analyzing, and adapt your instruction for it. It takes time to, maybe you need to substitute in a different text for one reader because it's not on level or they may have requested something different. All of that takes time, and it's not time you should be doing for free. It should be in your workday. So this legislative session, we are working to increase that duty-free break for all educators. It's not planning time. It is a duty-free break. If you want to plan during it, that's up to you. But if you wanted to go walk out to your car and sit in it for 30 minutes, you also could do that. If you are looking at what's going down to happen next, it's adding on that planning time. So we talk a lot about unencumbered time. There are two types, and we're advocating for both. Make sure that you fill out the scea.org/commit if you want to help us achieve that this legislative session.
Thank you so much.
Can I add to that a couple things? One, when we were out in schools last week, I heard from a teacher who hadn't had a planning or a break, elementary teacher, in 12 days. 12 days. It's ridiculous. It has to stop. And then the next part is something a superintendent said to us, and MaryRita was at that meeting. He said, once I implement this duty-free lunch, I need the teachers to take it, because the problem is in South Carolina, the culture is my children can't eat without me. Who's going to open their milk? Who's going to open their ketchup packet? How can they eat without me sitting there with them? Well, guess what? They can, because every state around us, the children still manage to eat without you opening their milk. Someone will open the milk for them. So he really said, Sherry, I can make this happen, but I need the teachers to take that lunch and go somewhere. Please don't, if we do this, they have to own this and they have to take that time to do it. And I know a couple of you have put in the chat too, and some superintendents called last week and they're like, Sherry, we just don't know how we're going to make this happen. We're going to have to add time, or there's no way to get all these meetings done. I'm like, well, make it happen. You're going to continue to lose teachers unless you can give them time during their day to do their work. So I know that superintendents are working on that. You as educators need to go have that conversation with your superintendent or with your building administrator. Let's work together to make sure we can have this time, because it's, next year is time. Then the next part of this, I think, Colleen, or we were going to get to, what happens when I don't get that? So what happens if my school takes my planning, or what happens if I didn't get my 30 free minutes today? Who do I call? What do I do about that? Do I file a grievance? Do I talk to my administrator? Or do I call the SCEA help desk? And if you are consistently not giving your answer, then we need, that's what we're here for. That's what we do, is to make sure that everything runs smoothly for you. So it is going to be a learning curve for everybody, but I know superintendents are working on figuring it out right now. But you need to let us know, and you need to take the time and take the break. Leave the lunchroom if that's how your school decides to do that.
It's interesting. I think there's some especially younger teachers who are folks that have not worked in other states, who don't realize sort of the rights that they're missing, because it's just what the environment they've always been in. But I find it, we were in schools in Greenville a couple weeks ago, and it was just very disheartening to see and talk to some of these educators who get to school, 6:37 in the morning, and have little or no break through the entire day. I don't think a lot of people out there in the public who aren't working in schools realize that. And for me, in my mind, that's just inhumane to not give human beings breaks throughout the day. We all need them. Maslow's hierarchy of needs applies to not just the young people, but to the adults in the building as well. Their physiological needs need to be met. Their needs, feelings of safety and belonging. We need to have time to just step away from the work, or you're just under chronic level of stress, and that leads to burnout. And that's why we're seeing, I believe, many teachers leave the profession, and then young people see this and they say, I don't want any part of that. So we have a difficulty recruiting young people into the profession as well. So as we move to closure, one thing that, when I was at Sarah's Teacher Forum conference last week, and I've been around a lot of educators the past few weeks talking to them, and since Tuesday, I think there is this fear that's out there. There's a lot of uncertainty about what the next 4 years are going to look like. A lot of us are very disappointed and disheartened about the results of Tuesday's election. But there's this meme going around: don't agonize, organize. And I think that meme is really important for us. And it doesn't mean we can't take time to be in our feelings about what happened and to be disappointed and frustrated and sad and fearful. But then what? What's next after that? And I know, Sherry, you and I were talking beforehand. You had some thoughts about this. We want to congratulate Lisa Ellis on running a campaign, and there's some hope in what we experienced on Tuesday. So maybe you can outline that for us.
Thank you, Todd. I do feel like I've heard from a lot of teachers too. I've also heard from a lot of retired superintendents, administrators. They're ready to jump up and take action for what they're feeling. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of teachers that are scared and anxious and very overwhelmed at the results from Tuesday, as I was too. So I was feeling a little down in the dumps, like all this work that you put into this, and we still lost. But we really didn't lose. I mean, we lost one election on this, but we gained a lot of insight, and we met a lot of folks, and we did organize a lot of people. We, according to our data, and Colleen can back this up or correct me if I've got the wrong numbers, we registered over 12,000 people to vote that had not voted before. I mean, that's amazing work, people. Come on, 12,000 people that were not registered to vote because of our efforts to do that. So, and we took a teacher, a classroom teacher, and tried to support her and get her elected. Hats off to Lisa and her team for taking that on and working full time. So, yes, it was a valiant effort. We fell short, but we have to lick our wounds and get up and fight the next fight for the next day, because we have to move on with this. So we won a lot of school board elections too. I mean, we were successful in Somerville, the DD2 school board election. All of their candidates that they put up won. So that's some power that they're going to have at the local level. So they have school board candidates there. We had 6 locals that participated in school board elections. We did phone banking. We did postcard writing. We got out the vote for a lot of candidates that we support. And I want to remind people that we are a bipartisan group. We supported Democrats and Republicans on our little postcard. We interviewed, we followed a process, and we are the only association in South Carolina that does that. We are the only group that you can join that will put their name on a candidate and try to get them elected. And yes, it is hard. And yes, it is agonizing work. And you will get a lot of hateful phone calls over this process. I promise you, it's not for fun. But we did it. We did it, and we put our name on people that are pro public education, people that can help us move our agenda in South Carolina. And that doesn't sit well with some people, Democrats and Republicans. I heard hateful calls from both sides. So, it happens. And we are the association that if you want to be involved in political action, you want to get involved in helping people get elected that can move our pro public education agenda, we are the place for you to be. So yes, we did not, get the outcomes that we wanted last Tuesday, but we really did make efforts within our own pro public education community to let people know we are here for the fight. We are here to support public education, in which 97% of our children go to public schools in South Carolina. Public schools aren't failing our children here. We do great things in our public schools, and we're here for the next 4 years to make sure people remember that. So I, as the state president, plan to reach out to Ms. Weaver and try to have a sit down with her. I will take to her our legislative agenda, our priorities, and how we feel that we can help her. I will keep you posted whether she'll take that meeting or whether she won't take that meeting. So, we had reached out to her to be part of our PAC process. She was not interested at that time, but she is the superintendent of education at this point. So I certainly hope we have a seat at the table, because we represent her teachers and support professionals in this state, and we need to be part of the solution. And I certainly hope that she will welcome us. But that is yet to be seen. We will, we're going to follow up with her to see how that's going to work. And we're also, that can't just be me, though. It can't just be me, MaryRita, our staff, and our leaders. Everyone needs to take a part in this, and everyone needs to pay attention. We do. I feel confident that the SCEA has your back. I feel confident that if you have worksite issues, we are going to take care of them for you. But what I need you to do as a person who loves public education or is employed in public education, you're going to have to build that relationship with your elected officials, with your school board folks, if you don't know who your legislator is, you need to figure that out. Send them, even if it's somebody you didn't vote for, they are the elected official now. They've won. Send them a Merry Christmas card, send them a Happy New Year card, and start working on that relationship and be the resource that they need that's in the classroom. And don't let them off the hook on this. I mean, you are the teacher, you are their constituent, and they need to hear from you consistently about things that you need them to do. And that's the only way we're going to get anywhere with this, you guys, is we have to be consistent and steady and united in this fight for what's best for our children.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sherry. And,
yes.
and your point about us, we're the only association, only professional association that realizes that staying neutral is not an option anymore. We have to support pro-public education candidates. We've got to fight against those who want to privatize and pass voucher schemes. We've got to fight for the truth to be taught in schools. We've got to fight against these folks who want to go around and ban books. I mean, there are a lot of fights that we have to take on. And the SCEA is not afraid to be the association to take on that fight. We're not just going to, take your dues and stand back and be neutral on things. We get our hands involved, and we are there on the ground fighting the good fight. But it's not just us; it's you. It's our members who are going to lead that fight. And we invite you to be a member of the SCEA. If you are not currently a member of the SCEA, you can see at the bottom of the screen, the link is jointhescea.org, or you can text the word join to 48744. That's jointhescea.org, or text the word join to 48744. Critical. If you are not a member of our union, we invite you to come into our union, help us build the collective power that we need to take this fight to our state legislature, to take this fight from district to district across the state, from Oconee to Horry, from Chesterfield to Charleston. We have got to take this fight statewide, and we need all hands on deck. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. MaryRita, do you have any final thoughts before we sign off?
I think I think just as a local president, I would like to encourage everyone on this call to become active in your local, from whatever it is that you can do to advocate. And I also remember my journey thinking that, advocacy wasn't advocacy unless you were out there in the front and just like ramming it down their face. And I have learned in my journey that is not true. So even the smallest things that you can do will help in getting the message to whomever it needs to be gotten to. So get involved in any way that you can, and don't forget that it is important that we speak out. We cannot be quiet any longer. We have to speak out.
100%. Colleen?
My final thought would be that there is no way we can deny the power of our collective voice. Together we're stronger, and together we're heard. If you see around the state, educators came together and it made a difference. And you see it happening now in local districts and counties where educators, librarians, and community are coming together to fight for what we know our children and families deserve. Let's take it into legislative session. Join us in this fight.
Heck yes. And Sherry, I'm going to let you have the final word before we sign off.
Thank you, everyone, for being on this call, and thank you for what you do every day in our schools for your children. We are here for you. I am here for you. Facebook friend me, message me, call me, text me. We are right here for you. But I do need to mention, too, about our PAC dollars, because we are an official PAC, and your dues dollars do not go toward PAC activities. And a lot of times people say that, oh, I don't agree that I'm not paying for this because I don't agree with candidates, whatever. But you guys, that is a whole separate funding. It's a whole separate entity within us, and it's called the South Carolina Fund for Children in Public Education. Just wanted to get that disclaimer in there that your dues dollars do not go to fund political campaigns. It's a separate thing. And I have to say, MaryRita Watson and the Legislative Committee, Colleen, for all those amazing resources you had to click on a button and find your elected official, who to vote for, where to vote, how to vote early. She spent a lot of time and energy on that, and it was beautiful, and we do appreciate everybody for everything they did. So happy Sunday evening to you, and the countdown's on until Thanksgiving. Again, if we can be of assistance, please, please, please let us know.
Thank you so much. Thank you to Sherry, Colleen, MaryRita, everybody who's tuned in tonight. Thank you for what you do. Education is a noble profession. We love you. We care about you. We're here for you. As Sherry said, please commit to taking action. We can't just talk about this. We've got to actually take action. And the first thing you can do is go to the SCEA.org/commit. And if you're not a member, please join the SCEA.org, or you can message any of us, connect with us, and we'll talk to you about what membership's all about. But thanks so much for tuning in. You deserve amazing schools, and you deserve wages that reflect the importance of your work. You deserve working conditions that are humane. You deserve to have breaks throughout the day. You deserve to be treated with respect and dignity, because what you do is of critical importance. Preparing the next generation of South Carolinians, I can't think of too many jobs that are more important than that. And you deserve to be respected and cared for. And we're going to do everything to make sure that our state leaders do that for you. But it's easier when we do it together. So please join us. And if you are already a member, please let us know how we can help you. And we want you to lead in these efforts. So thanks again to everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. We have a great event coming up on the 15th. Pete Stone is going to lead a panel discussion on just saying no to other duties as assigned. I hope that you'll tune in. That'll be 7 o'clock on the 15th this week. So I hope you'll tune into that live stream. So until then, have a great Sunday night, and we'll see you then. Bye, everybody.